Hi, my friends. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Bess McCarty, Victoria, Kansas. And this show is every Monday through Friday, every weekday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Sponsored by our generic school for network marketers, our generic alternative school, the MLM Millionaire Academy. And you can find this show at our Facebook group, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, or on Jeff Gamble's page. He and Brandy present Monday through Friday, except I present on Wednesday. So what we do is we present about one personal growth book a month. And right now it is this wonderful book, John Maxwell's No Limits. And I just love this book. And this chapter is called How to Blow the Caps Off. How to blow the caps off how to blow off the caps that limit your life. Doesn't that sound great? So a few risks come with that, and going to start by inviting people to join on here and welcome you to do that as well. If you're watching, please type in replay because we want to thank you for that. And if you know people who can use personal growth this morning, who want to get beyond their limits, who are sick and tired of having limits, frustrations, tired of being stuck, this show is for them. This is really, really a good chapter, you guys, about blowing off the caps. So I'm inviting people and can explain a little bit about John Maxwell. He says everything rises and falls on leadership, and especially in network marketing, what we do. I'm a generic coach for network marketers, and used to be a full-time network marketer, but I'll say we in the profession of network marketing. What we do is retail. We sell our product or service to people. We train others to do that. And then the next step is leadership. And that is a beautiful, beautiful art of connecting, communicating, holding the vision, and a lot of other qualities that come into play. We know that it's the person that we become on the way to making our millions, right? Being a millionaire, being successful in business is wonderful, but it's the person that we become on the way. And so leadership and all of John Maxwell's books, he's written over 100, over 40 years. These books are a beautiful guideline to developing ourselves and making a big difference in the world. So the MLM Millionaire Academy, that is our purpose as well. The purpose of the school and this show is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. So we're all on the same page, all of the people committed and dedicating to make a difference in the world, and glad you are here. So, done inviting. Hey, welcome Shamala, and welcome Chance. Glad to see you guys. So this again is the book, No Limits, John Maxwell. We're on chapter 2 today, blow off the caps that limit your life. So I have a few principles, but also I have a few stories that I hope will give you one thing to take away and make a difference in your life. Just to review a bit from yesterday and from the introduction of this book, John Maxwell says that, okay, if you want to reach your capacity or blow your limits, change has got to be part of it. But we don't like change, right? Because there's risk in there and there's something new and all of that stuff. But he said change doesn't have to be drastic to be effective. You know, it can be subtle. In fact, getting out of our comfort zone, I'll just tell you a little bit about what Robert Kiyosaki says about that, because I really, really like this. Getting out of our comfort zone is where change happens, and that's where really the excitement happens too. Kiyosaki says, if we fail to make mistakes or if we fail to learn from them, the magic goes out of life, because it's in that transformation. That's the magic of life. Life, you know, if we avoid mistakes, then life shrinks, it gets smaller, instead of expansive. You know, don't we love to see each other grow? Don't we love to grow, to change and grow ourselves? Don't we love to see a child grow and, wow, they can walk now, they can ride a bike now, you know, we're ecstatic. The parents are just And the people who love that child are just like my little granddaughter. You know, we're just ecstatic. I watched that little video of her first steps probably 100 times, you know, and the smile on her face, the grin on her face, how proud she was that she could walk like other people on her legs. She was not confined to crawling on the ground anymore. She could walk like the people that she saw around her. Even her cat and dog could walk, but she could only crawl. And when she finally got to walk, she was just ecstatic. Of course, she fell down. She fell on her face a bunch of times and hit her face. So change always requires a risk and sometimes hurts, but golly, was it worth it to be able to walk? And he says mistakes. He learned from his rich dad that mistakes, he told the boys, makes me happier. I always when I make a mistake, I become wiser and I learn new things. So each time, did you know that each time we get out of our comfort zone, our body rewards us with a dose of dopamine and serotonin. Those are happiness hormones. And those increase confidence. So getting out of your comfort zone, taking a reasonable risk, making mistakes can actually be addictive. You can actually start a good feeling going forward in a good way. But what takes away that is when we blame, justify, excuse, quit, deny, or lie. You know, we make a mistake or we don't want to get out of our comfort zone, and so we resort to these things. It's like a downward spiral. Again, it shrinks life instead of expands it. So he says, watch out for making excuses, you know, shifting responsibility, shifting the blame, instead of taking our own responsibility for something and grow with it. Fantasies not grounded in reality, not listening to others, unresolved negative emotions, habitual self-distraction, the absence of personal reflection, the unwillingness to pay the price to gain experience. And also add to that, too small of a paradigm. You know, Holton Bugg said, if I had it to do over, I'd think much bigger, much sooner. So the caps that blow off your life. He starts out the second chapter with talking about Nick Vujicic, the man with no arms and legs. Have you seen him on YouTube? So John Maxwell starts out with this. Talk about a guy with limits that blew off his limits. Of course, when he was a child, Nick saw other people had arms and legs, and he couldn't do a lot of things for himself, and his parents had to help him. And he thought the worst thing in life is the feeling that you're going to be alone and that you have no purpose. He thought of committing suicide at age 8, but with the help of his friends and the love of his family and his desire to make a difference in life, that's what pulled him through and made such a huge difference. Even though he's only in his early, or when he was in his early 30s, he was bullied when he was little. You know, he was bullied and lonely, but he did pull through. He busted through all those limits of his physical limitations and his emotional limitations. And he writes about Helen Keller. I read her life story when I was a kid, and I thought that was amazing. Helen Keller was born without sight or vision, but she became a renowned activist and author. And she said there's no such thing as a secure life. It doesn't exist. Life is a daring adventure or nothing. So risk is life. Getting out of our comfort zone is where our dreams and life take place. It's a high anxiety zone, but it's where we discover who we are. It was Carl Walenda, patriarch of the legendary high wire walking family. John Maxwell says he nailed it when he said, being on the tightrope is living. Everything else is waiting. You like that? The tightrope, that's definitely out of our comfort zone. Hey, welcome, Nancy. How are you? Hey, if you guys are watching here and you're ready to throw off a limit, please type in yes, because you're in the right place. And I hope that you get one tip out of this today, one really good tip that you can take away and use about how to blow the limits. This is really good from the book, John Maxwell, No Limits, Chapter 2, How to Blow the Caps Off. So back to Nick Vujicic, who was born with no arms and legs. Nick believed his purpose was to become a motivational speaker, but he had no experience, no resources, no invitations. You know, people were not knocking on his door. Hey, you got no arms and legs. We want you to speak. Nope. He had to go and he started calling high schools. And he called 52 and they all said no. He kept going. The 53rd one said yes. And we'll pay you $50. It was like a 3-hour drive to get there. So he took the $50, paid his brother to drive him there and back. It ended up when he got there, he only spoke to 10 students for 5 minutes. He felt pretty small, you know. 5 hours of driving, 6 hours of driving, he felt foolish. But the next week, the phone started ringing. And school after school asked him to come and share his story. And that just kept growing and it still hasn't stopped to this day. Today he receives 35,000 speaking requests per year. And he says, dream big and be a little foolish. And, you know, he has, accomplished all of this. He even has, he's even married and has 4 children, 4 small children. The last 2 were twins. So what kind of limits, you know, and another thought came to me. What if he had been born into a world where nobody had arms and legs? Everybody had to figure out a way to do things. I don't know how that would be, but what if that was the norm? Would he have felt that he was limited, or would he have felt that he was average? You know, it's when he compared himself to other people that he felt that he had these limits that he had to bust through. And of course he did. Incredible. So it's said that in our 20s we discover what we can be. In our 30s we discover what we cannot do. And then later on in life we have to put those two together. We have to know our capacities and our limitations. Or John puts it another way. He says, a way to say this is recognize which caps you can remove and which ones you can't. So the caps you can remove, I think, are sometimes it's our physical limitations. We can do things like maybe get an artificial limb. Sometimes that's our internal caps that we can change and remove. Because 80% of success is mindset, isn't it? And Nancy says, I've seen some of his speeches with students and follow him. He's incredible. I know, Nick is, yeah. So something happened to me on Monday that blew my limits or challenged me in my limits. A digital magazine asked to film 6 10-minute segments or little workshops or talks that I would write and design. So I chose 6 topics that I thought people most often encountered in personal growth. And that was things like discouragement, how to get more confidence, how to overcome fear, how to overcome procrastination, how to solve problems, how to get your greatest why. And we filmed those on Monday after about 6 weeks of preparation. You know, I carefully wrote out all of these topics and collected stories, my own and other people, and put those into the workshops and collected the clothes. I changed outfits for each segment and brought my lighting equipment and an easel for the notes to be on and all of this stuff. And I still wasn't satisfied. I filmed myself, you know, practicing the talks and everything, and I still wasn't satisfied without looking at my notes, or without making it feel stilted. Or if I didn't look at my notes, how did I remember all the important things I was going to say? You know, I still forgot some of the things. So I thought maybe I'm just not cut out for this. You know, I can do Facebook Live and chat with you guys, but maybe I'm not cut out to be, you know, make a really nice documented film. I can do, you know, the video prompter. You know, I can do the words, but I wanted more energy, more life than the video prompter, than reading the words on the screen would bring. So I was kind of not sure how this was going to come off. Okay, the deadline's approaching. I practiced. I've done all I could. I just went. And guess what? Well, I left it up to the divine too, right? I asked for divine help. If it's your will, you know, help this to go off, because I really do want to help people. So I get there, and once the camera starts rolling, all of a sudden, the energy's there, the words were there, it went smoothly. And we did another one, another one, another one. They all went smoothly. Just a couple of glitches that they could edit out. But it's like, wow, wow. You know, I didn't say too many ums. I didn't clear my throat too many times. I didn't forget and go blank, which would have cost a lot more studio time and all that. You know, as it was, it took 3 hours to do all that, and the in between, what we did in between the filming and everything. But somehow it's like, you know, do your best and let God do the rest. And that's what I think happened. But I trusted something bigger than me, than my own human limitations, because I know what happened when I filmed myself, but I just trusted something else. So blowing the caps off for me can be do all that I possibly can to prepare, and then trust the rest, trust the divine. If it's supposed to come off good, okay. If it's supposed to not come off, okay. And be willing to accept that. You know, I bring my best. But another thing that helps me is to not focus on me, to focus on the service that I'm doing and my belief in the power of personal growth and the importance of it. That I be willing to stand up and speak for it, or get on this Facebook Live today and speak for it. That overcomes my shyness, gets the attention off me, and lets me be kind of a champion for what I'm talking about. That I could do. You know, that is what sort of gave me the final kicking strength to go ahead and do that. So I grew. You know, I busted some limits. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger who also was good at busting limits. He was born in 1947 in Austria, and he didn't want to stay there. When he was 11, he saw these documentary films of high-rises in America, and he goes, that's where I want to go. But how do I get there? You don't have any money. And then he saw this magazine about Reg Park, who was a famous bodybuilder, Mr. Universe 3 times, and star of the movie Hercules. And he goes, that's what I want to do. I want to be a bodybuilder. I want to star in movies. I want to become a millionaire. I want to become rich and famous, just like Reg Park. This is a blueprint of my life. And so he did that. He worked out even more than Reg Park did every day. And then at age 20, he went to London and became the youngest Mr. Universe in history, and went on to win that a total of 4 times and 8 other bodybuilding championships. And then he told his agent, okay, now movies. His agent just laughed at him and said, you know, you're too big, you have an accent, nobody can pronounce your name. So he went and talked to other agents and managers. They all said the same thing. He said, but I didn't care. I had a vision. And he went to America and went to college and studied acting and accent removal in English. And then he went to make the movie Hercules, went in the toilet. Hercules in New York, went in the toilet. Made 3 other movies, was asked to be Conan the Barbarian. And it was the biggest hit that year. And they said to him, if you wouldn't have had that body, we would have had to build one. Then he was asked to be Terminator. And they said, if you wouldn't have had that accent, this would never have worked. And he goes, what do you know? My liabilities became my assets. And also he kept focused on his dream. He had no doubt that he could do it. When he heard can't, he heard can. When people said no, he heard yes. When they said impossible, he heard possible. That's a great story of the caps that we can remove. But John Maxwell says, know the difference between the caps you can't remove and the ones you can, you know, so you don't keep banging your head against the wall. Like the caps you can't remove, he said, is the place of birth. You may like it or hate it. And Arnold didn't like Austria. He moved to America. I think Austria could be cool, you know. Maybe I'd like to move there. But he didn't he could not change where he was born. The year of your birth, we can't change that. We can't change our birth family or our birth characteristics. We can't change if we lose our mother, like John Maxwell was marked by the death of his mother when he was 6 years old. And I lost my father when I was 10. He was constantly aware of what he missed, and in growing up, when John's siblings and when they grumbled about doing dishes, he said, I would love to do the dishes for my mother. You know, I would have loved to do dishes for my mom, but she wasn't there. So he turned that around. He couldn't change the fact that he lost his mother, but he used that to better his life. Mark Twain says 2 greatest days in people's life are when they're born and when they find out why. The caps you can remove. I'll say even our history and our past. Don't let your past define you. And Nick Vujicic says, the biggest temptation, I believe, is to feel comfortable. To feel like you've worked through all that there is here on earth to work through and you're satisfied with this life. I mean, it's good to be content, but let's have goals because that's what makes life juicy, right? So he said, I think that John Maxwell says that the problem for too many people who aren't as successful as they want to be is they think that I've reached my capacity and there's no new mountains to climb. And they settle and they get comfortable. And that's one of the things that I know as a coach. Complacency is one of the biggest enemies for people. I'm okay, I'm good. But then they stop growing. And I know this 80-year-old woman who was constantly learning new things, and she was like a child inside. You know, she did not get old because she kept growing and learning. And he says the caps that other people put on you, judgments connected with their age, gender, race, we don't have to accept those things. I fought too hard to get where I am to let others control where I'm going. And then the caps we put on ourselves, the judgments the things that we tell ourselves. Like I told myself, gosh, maybe I'm just not good at this. You know, maybe I can't speak in front of a camera. Very dangerous to look for approval from others. Very dangerous to think that just because something hasn't been done before, that can't be done, because everything had a first time, right? Living in a limiting environment, we can change the environment, we can move from it. You cannot be comfortable in your own skin without your own approval. What if we held a vision? What if we did a vision, a movie vision every day, and saw where we want to go in life, and we held that stronger than our doubts and what other people say about us or we tell ourselves about us? Nick says, don't put your life on hold so that you can dwell on the unfairness of past hurts. Don't dwell on the unfairness. Born without limbs. This isn't fair. You know, he didn't let that stop him. We don't need to. Or even past hurts or things that people have done. You can be successful if others don't believe in you, but you can't be successful if you don't believe in yourself. So, hope this helps today. Did you get one tip to blow the limits off, blow the caps off the limits that you might currently feel? The first chapter actually was awareness. So maybe the first step could be aware of what you believe are your caps and your limits. What's holding you back in your life? What can slow you down, stand in your way, or even stop you from achieving what you want in your life? From being more happy, being more successful, having more love in your life? What could stop you? And then write that down. And then take a look at those limits and say, are those things that I cannot change? Or are they things I can? And most of the time we can, because most of the time they're internal. Or we can find a workaround with the external environment and things that seem to stop us, like Nick did. He couldn't change the fact that he didn't have arms and legs, but he did but they did not limit him. So he found other ways, right? He did hire people before he was married. He would hire people to come and do certain tasks that he could not. So other people became his arms and legs. He had arms and legs, right, through others. So how can you break through the limits that you have written down? And just brainstorm that today. And see if you can take one step today to get free of the jail, of the limits that you keep yourself in. Tomorrow is Chapter 3, Energy Capacity, your ability to push on physically. And Brandy Pember and Jeff Gamble will be covering that. And you can find that on Jeff Gamble's page, but also all of these are shared into the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. So you can go there, you can find all of the replays there, you can find Jeff's Cliff Notes on the books, and you can find the company of over 600 other MLM leaders. The best ones, I think, are in there, and we have great discussions there. So you're welcome to go to that show, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, and once you request membership there, you can also request a free ebook by John Maxwell. So we hope to see you guys over there. Thanks for watching. And again, this show is sponsored by the MLM Millionaire Academy, our alternative generic school for network marketers, where we teach how to always get a yes, never get objections. The easiest, fastest way that I've ever seen in network marketing to recruit people. It makes it easy, and we need that, right? Simple, easy. It's the best way I've ever seen. And I'll post a link below where you can actually get a free class in that and check that out too. Okay, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for the chapter 3 of No Limits by John Maxwell. Take care, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for sharing. Love you guys. And thank you, Shamala says. Love you guys. Bye-bye.